civilians in the midst of a war. All parties must take all feasible precautions to avoid and minimize civilian harm. Indiscriminate attacks and are strictly prohibited. Another strike today reportedly hit the offices of a humanitarian partner in Gaza City. 3 staff were killed. Yesterday, our partners providing education services said that between October of 2023 and June of this year, 626 temporary learning spaces had been established in Gaza with 240,000 students enrolled. About half of those students are girls. However, the partners say that only 299 spaces are currently operational due to the ongoing displacement orders, funding shortfalls, and a host of other challenges. Our humanitarian partners also, including first responders, health workers, and aid workers, continue to deliver food and other assistance under intolerable conditions, and they themselves are facing hunger. A number of our own colleagues are also facing hunger. They also face water scarcity and threats to their personal safety, just like everyone else in Gaza. As we've said time and time again, this catastrophic situation must end. A ceasefire is not only urgent, it is overdue, and all of the hostages need to be released unconditionally and immediately. Turning to the West Bank, our humanitarian colleagues there report and continue to warn of the intensification of operations by Israeli forces in northern areas. These operations are causing massive destruction, driving further humanitarian needs and dampening hopes of thousands of displaced families that they will be able to eventually go back home. Meanwhile, attacks and harassment and intimidation by Israeli settlers against Palestinians have become a daily reality, including a settler attack on July 3rd that led to the displacement of the Mujarrajat East Bedouin community in the central West Bank. This is the 9th community to be fully displaced in Ramallah and Jericho area since January 23, following the recurrent attacks by Israeli settlers. Turning to Lebanon, this morning in southern Lebanon, our UNIFIL peacekeepers faced aggressive behavior by a group of individuals. During a patrol in Sector West, several individuals blocked the peacekeepers and began throwing stones at them. Our peacekeepers were forced to use non-lethal smoke grenades to disperse the crowd. The Lebanese armed forces then arrived on the scene and the situation was brought under control. As a reminder, any attack against peacekeepers is a serious violation of Security Council Resolution 1701, and we call on the Lebanese authorities to bring the perpetrators to account. Yesterday, UN peacekeepers also discovered 2 unauthorized weapons caches in Sector West, including 3 tunnels containing non-operational military cannon, as well as operational rockets and explosives. The day before, UNIFIL also found unauthorized ammunition boxes in Sector East. All of these caches were referred to the Lebanese armed forces for disposal. In southern Lebanon, also continuing there, our UNIFIL colleagues report military presence of Israeli defense forces, as well as air and ground activities, including in the area of Kafir Kila. Yesterday, peacekeepers observed 11 IDF activities in their area of operations. Our UN colleagues continue to impartially monitor and report on violations of Resolution 1701 and support the parties in fulfilling their responsibilities under the resolution as mandated by the Security Council. Moving to Ukraine. The humanitarian coordinator for Ukraine, the UN humanitarian and resident coordinator for Ukraine, Matthias Schmale, says the overnight strikes by the Russian armed forces in the capital Kyiv caused several civilian casualties. 4 districts were hit during the attacks, damaging residential buildings, a clinic, and a TV channel facility. An outpatient clinic was also destroyed. Meanwhile, authorities also report civilian casualties following missile and drone attacks across the country. In the Donetsk region, 9 people were killed and 10 were injured, with damage to nearly 70 homes in 20 towns and villages in the area. The regions of Kherson, of Kharkiv, and Zaporizhzhia were also impacted, with reports of additional casualties and damage to civilian infrastructures, including ambulance and health facilities. Overnight attacks also struck 4 more regions in Cherniv, in Suni, in Poltava, and in as part of the continued pattern of widespread strikes beyond frontline areas. Humanitarian teams provided psychological support, hot meals, and repair materials. And for its part, our UN Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine today said that June saw the highest monthly civilian casualties in 3 years in Ukraine, with 232 people killed and 1,433 injured. In its monthly update on the protection of civilians, the UN Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine notes that last month the Russian Federation launched 10 times more missiles and loitering munition attacks against Ukraine than in June of 2024. Virtually no region of Ukraine was spared, regardless of the distance from the front lines. Our UN Human Rights colleague in Ukraine also say the figures for June confirmed last year's worsening trend, with 6,754 civilians killed or injured in the first half of 2025. This is a sharp 54% rise from the corresponding period last year in 2024. Also today, the UN Children's Fund said around 70% of children in Ukraine, that's 3.5 million children, now lack access to basic goods and services, including adequate food or shelter. According to UNICEF, a third of Ukraine's children live in homes without functioning water supply and sewage, and nearly half of them lack access to an area to play at home or outside. Turning to Sudan, where the situation is not getting better, and our humanitarian colleagues tell us that the country's cholera outbreak continues to worsen. Tom Fletcher, our emergency relief coordinator, today allocated $5 million to support the urgent response efforts. The new funding will allow us to scale up time-critical health, water